everybody. Welcome back to the Picture Book Summit podcast. Today we are having our Caldecott conversation. We're super excited. We have a lot of energy in the room because the Caldecotts were announced recently, which, if you don't know, is like the Oscars for picture books. The Caldecotts are an illustration award. So the award goes to the illustrator, and part of the illustration is that it's like how it interacts with the text, but like we said, it is a illustration award. So we will be putting a link in the show notes to Emma, who gave a great talk on the exact rules and guidelines that the committee uses to pick these books every year. And you'll be really interested to hear that if you're interested in Caldecott. So we have a two-part series on the Caldecotts because we love these books so much. We just can't help talking more and more about them, and we learn more from each other. So we hope that you learn something from these two different sessions about the book. So first off, we just want to say congratulations to all of the books. The Caldecott winner this year was Fireworks, and then honor books included Stalactite and Stalagmite, Sun Dust by Zeke Pena, Our Lake by Angie Kang, and Every Monday Mabel by Jashar Awan. So in our first part here, we're going to discuss Our Lake and Every Monday Mabel. So we'll get that conversation going now. And Julie, I'm going to throw to you.
Okay. Well, actually, before we do that, I did want to say that Pantone be damned with their cloud white is the color of the year, because pink is obviously the color of the year for picture books.
Yeah.
And
not just pink, hot pink.
Hot pink,
yeah.
like bright pink.
It's in that book too.
It's in every single one of these books.
Yeah.
I think. I can't remember.
No, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is.
So, and it's interesting to me because I remember when Peter Brown's book, Fred Gets Dressed, came out, and it had that pink hue to it. And I'm not sure I'd ever seen anything like that. So either it's getting easier to use hot pink because of...
Well, there was Pinkalicious. So
no, right, but not this bright hot pink, I guess. Maybe
it's like a neon pink.
Actually, yeah. I have an interesting point about that when we get to talking about Sundust.
Okay. So anyway, pink is in.
Pink is in, and there are, I think, some other really interesting common denominators this year. Pink is in, onomatopoeia is in.
Yes.
Sensory description is in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those seem to be, those are recurring themes in every single one of these books this year.
Yellow is a huge color.
Yellow is a big color too.
But remember, people sorry, Julie, but remember, but we're saying it's in, but I want to point out to people who are new to the business that these books have been worked on years ago and are now coming out. So, it's a coincidence to a large degree. I don't think, there was no conference like, hey, pink is going to be in 7 years. But just so
right.
I don't want people to go, oh, I better use a lot of pink, because
that's a really good point.
Yeah, that is an
Thank you.
excellent point. Yeah.
Speaking of yellow, let us commence with our discussion of Our Lake, which is one of the honor books. This is written and illustrated by Angie Kang. And this, my friends, is her debut picture book.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, what? This book.
That's actually another theme, a certain degree of another theme this year, but carry on.
So the reason I say, speaking of yellow, is because one choice that the illustrator, Angie Kang is both the author and the illustrator, made is to have this yellow sky, and rather than a blue sky. This is in the middle of summer. I think the yellow, yes, so much yellow. The yellow indicates heat, and it also differentiates the sky from the blue of the lake. The story features, it starts with an older brother tying on the shoes of his younger brother. That's just in the opening spread.
It's on the title page.
On the title page, yeah. And so right away we see that this older brother is caring for his younger brother. And they're going to, the text says, today, brother is taking me up to swim in the lake like father used to. So right away, we know that this is a tradition and the father is missing and the older brother is leading them on this expedition is the only word I can think of now. One thing I want to point out about the art, and if you're, I'll try to describe it a little bit if you're watching or if you're listening just on the podcast. But notice how forbidding on here they are walking and there's this big bright yellow sky above them. And on the recto page, it's just like these dark trees. You see like a little bit of yellow peeking out here, but it looks a little bit scary, like there's some unknown here. And I want everybody to look at this orange bird you see up here flying in the sky and notice the orange hat that the brother is wearing because that becomes important. So they end up getting to the lake. This book is so beautiful, both in text and in illustrations. And they're getting ready to jump off. They're on a big cliff. And the brother goes first. And this is a wordless spread. Oh, no, it isn't. I'm sorry. The little brother is looking very anxious as the bigger brother dives into the lake. And once he's in, it's like this. We all agreed that this was one of our very favorite illustrations in the book is when the brother is underwater briefly after he dives in and he's coming back up to the surface. And the words say, for an instant, brother disappears and the water stills. What's miraculous about this illustration is it is showing exactly what a person looks like when they're underwater with all the ripples. And you can even see like the air bubbles that are coming out of his mouth or nose. And it's just enough. It's distorted enough that you can see he's underwater, but you can also recognize him as the brother. You can even see his eyes. The way Katie's holding it up, you can see a little bit better. And that is a very significant moment in this book where the brother is both there and not there, and the little brother is anxiously waiting for him to come up. And he says, then he emerges wet and triumphant. And he's encouraging now the little brother. And there's this beautiful spread where the little boy it's close up on his face. He's got his eyes closed. And he says the water looks so far away and there's this fear. And here we get a little bit more about the father, right? On the inside of my eyelids, I see father. And now look at the orange hat, right? Is on the father.
That the father is wearing.
The father is wearing the orange hat. And on the next page, you can see the father putting the orange hat on the older brother's head. It's this moment, big moment of transference.
And the children in this image are much younger looking than in the lake day.
Right. And then we see the memory the boy has of the father jumping in and into the water and emerging. And look at this turquoise blue that is used for the lake in this image, because when you go back to the boy, suddenly the yellow is now surrounded by these turquoise swirls, which to me said he feels his father's presence as he's about to jump. See the bird where Kelly is holding up, the boy jumps, and it says, now I become an arrow the way father taught me, now I soar. And the bird is in the exact same position as the boy, right? Like the wind whistles its approval as I head back to earth. And then, oh my goodness, this beautiful spread where the little boy's hands are just about to touch the water, and you see like a shadow of the father reaching up.
I'm crying now.
Yeah, I mean, this book is so beautiful. As I approach the water, I see someone coming toward me, reaching for me as I reach for him. He has my nose and my eyes, but it's hard to tell what else we share in the moment before we meet in the middle. Um, and then the only other thing I want to say about, I mean, this book, just the sweetness of, there's this line here that I have goosebumps even before I've read it to you. Brother cheers for him. His smile is crooked, as if half of him is happy and the other half is not.
Yeah.
And that is the simplest, most poignant description of what it feels like to be in a memory of someone you love who is not there. And at the end, we see the orange hat sitting on the towels and the two boys swimming. And then, using every last bit of space, there's this Polaroid on the dedication page of the two boys with their father. And I love how the older one is cut off here. Like it's a real family
it's a true
photo.
Selfie.
And one final thing that I will, no, two things. The yellows on the end pages, speaking of using every bit of space, the sky in the front is yellow. The sun is over on the left side. And then at the back, the sun is setting. So obviously we know time has gone by, but there's also this orange coming in. And the sun has come down. And that bird is here soaring off almost like, and to me, that signifies them not quite feeling their father's presence as much in the beginning. And then they really all are together at the end with that blending of orange. So, and then last, I cried when I opened it because this book does have undies. There's an image of the father and the two boys when they're younger sitting at the
from
lake.
the back, which is so sweet.
I know. And what I also found interesting is that, again, the water here is more turquoise than it is in the interior illustrations. When the boys are swimming, it's a bit darker. And so the turquoise ends up, I think, representing the presence of the father. You can even see his shadow is always in turquoise.
Well, I noticed that all of the spreads where he's thinking about his father or they're remembering his father, they're all brighter. They're just
that's
they're
to me that's
brighter.
about the quality of memory.
Yeah.
Right.
So the water is lighter, the sky is more yellow and has more orange in it, and then you go back, you go back to reality where it's darker, and I thought while you were talking about the end papers showing the passage of time when you were just talking about it just now, it occurs to me it also is, this is brighter, this is the before time, maybe when dad was around, and then now this is after he is gone and he's still with us, but it's dark, so it works on so many levels. Her illustrations are just
to me
genius.
the darker layer is the layer of grief that has literally colored their world,
Yeah.
This is the power of great art, in that we might all come to this. We come to this with different experiences, life experience. And like for me, growing up on a lake in Michigan, that part I loved, but also having lost my own father now almost 20 years ago. And yet there are things that when you do them, you just feel immersed in the love that you had. Like, this is maybe a silly example, but a couple weeks ago I made navy bean soup, which my dad always used to make in the winter, like huge pots of it. And it smelled in the house. It smelled like him. And I felt myself watching him cooking, even though it was me cooking, you know?
Yeah.
So one thing that I did a little bit of reading up on the background of this story, and one thing that I found that was really interesting was that Angie Kang actually created a variation of this book quite a while back in 2022 for a journal, a literary journal called The Offing, and it's called The Dip. And it's a very similar sequence of a family with the father looking very much like the father in this book, going for a dip in the pond, in the lake. The difference being that in that story, the point of the story is that the father goes underwater, dives and goes underwater, and the children are scared. And the mother reassures them, don't worry, he's coming back. And in this story, of course, he isn't coming back. And that completely informs the difference that makes this picture book. For me, there were two things that really struck me about this book. One is her, first of all, debut picture book, just stunning. Her use of perspective. My father was an artist and an illustrator, and he was known for his use of perspective. So I tend to notice that in other people's work. But this particular book, the distance, the size of the children when they're up on the rock looking down at the water. In particular, there's one image of the little boy looking down at his brother in the water, and his head relative to the size of his hands and his feet. His everything seems so small and far away, and how she achieved that to sort of emphasize his anxiety and his fear, how big the fear is in his head,
Right.
versus how far away everything feels to him. And that to me, that really struck me. And the other thing that struck me, this bird was just such a beautiful metaphor running through the book. And he first appears on the end paper sitting in the tree in the very first end paper.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah. And then you see him again sitting in the tree. On the title page. He's above the title sitting in the tree when they're preparing to go to the lake. So what I took from, because he's the same color as the father's hat, and he's very present, this bird, following them all the way to the lake, I took it to be the father's spirit. And what happens is that when the boy finally dives into the water, he says, now I become an arrow, the way father taught me. Now I soar. And there's the bird soaring with him. And so for me, it was very much that the father sort of brought the courage for the boy in the spirit of this bird. And once he soars like the bird, then we don't see the bird again until the very end of the book in the end papers, when it takes off by itself, as if they don't really need him anymore.
Yeah, it really,
he's transferred he's transferred the spirit of courage that he needed to the boy, and now he can go and be free.
And another thing, Emma, speaking of perspective, I read this too, that on that same one that you were talking about, where the boy's head is so big and everything else looks so far away, the text says, I inch forward until my toes meet the edge. And in the image, his toes are nowhere near the edge.
No, and they're curled.
And they're curled up. And so it's really interesting, a very subtle but very specific and powerful way that the image is working both with and against the text, if you will.
It's how he feels.
Yeah. So,
but it's interesting to me, this notion of her earlier version of this in a story that was published online, an illustrated story that was published online. It really shows you how an idea can, what you might call an idea worm, right? And can begin to weave its way in for a creator. And you begin to play with it, and you begin to explore it, and you try it this way and you try it that way. And then finally it comes to full fruition, in this book. But it clearly took quite a number of years for her to
Yeah.
work out this idea until it was fully realized.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And I mean, you talk about to me, great art is when you can go back and look at it again and again and find new things that you hadn't noticed before and new
Yeah.
connections.
Right. It also makes you, one other thing I wanted to point out, Emma, about the difference between the story and the picture book is that it sounds like, I haven't read the short story, but it sounds like it's really the mother there encouraging the kids and sort of being central to how, both of the parents are present, and it's the mother who's comforting them. And in the picture book, appropriately, it is the children who are
Right.
processing that for themselves, because
Oh, yeah.
if you had a mother swooping in and saying,
Exactly.
it's okay, you can jump, whatever, it becomes a lot less about the child processing their own fear and grief and, how the new structure of their family in this tradition. So,
And just to go back to where you started, Julie, with the hot pink, in this book, it's very much in the skin tones, the hot pink. It's in the sort of sunburned feeling of these hot summer days, by the
yeah.
water.
And as far as the hat goes and the symbolism, I love the fact that the oldest brother has taken it upon himself to bring his little brother up to this spot to share it with him again in the way that their dad had. And he's wearing his dad's hat, and he has become, in a way, the father figure. And he's tying his shoes, he's taking care of him. He says, careful, and remember how steep it is, and all of that. And then he's like, you can do it, you can do it. And it it just kills me. Like, it just brings tears to my eyes every time I think of it. It's just so moving. I have to stop or I'm going to start crying again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one thing I saw carry through many of these books we're going to talk about today is the soft lines. But like this one, Everyday Mabel, fireworks, and then elements of sun dust and stalactite and stalagmite have some very soft edges. I was saying in my notes unfocused art, but that's not the right word. I'm sure there's a particular word for that style. But I found that to be really interesting too. It's all there's not a lot of definition between the different elements on the page. And of course
Mhm.
that works beautifully here with the lake when you have the ripples
Yeah.
One
splashing and the
one other
trees and everything. So
one other observation, just going back to the bird again, when he's thinking back to the memory of the father, he says, "Father's laugh leaps through my bones, making them bird light." That bird is
oh
just,
yeah.
it's everywhere you think picture books are easy, but man,
Yeah,
that is a layer that is so subtle and so thematically
Right.
important,
So much.
definitely.
Yeah.
so
Definitely.
much.
All right. Let's go to our next book. And we have Katie talking
Yes.
about
Every Monday Mabel. I was going to say every day. Yes, by Jashar Awan. And this book is delicious. I I was so happy when I was the one picked to do this one. I love this book. So here is the cover, Everyday Mabel.
Every Monday.
God, I keep doing that. Every Monday Mabel. I don't know why I do, because the
Oh, I want
alliteration
to
is
hold on. I want
perfect.
to say real quick. Every Monday Mabel is Simon and Schuster. Our lake was Kokila, and we'll see other Kokila books today as well. I just want to make sure we're shouting out the publishers of these
Yes,
amazing books.
yes.
So sorry, go ahead.
So, yes. So Every Monday Mabel, just first of all, the title alone. Now, obviously, the Caldecott is for the art, but the art has to work perfectly with the text. And I must say, the title, Every Monday Mabel, makes you want to go, wait, what? What happens every Monday with this girl, Mabel? So that just opens it, right? And the title page is her looking out the window at us. We're out there and she's looking. So I cut some pages marked. So every Monday it starts with her thank you. She wakes up early, she's getting ready. It's very, I want to say filmic. I don't even, is that a word, Emma?
Cinematic.
It's very cinematic, and because it builds and builds and builds, and then we have this moment. So we're going to get to that moment. And the art, she's got these two puff pigtails. She's adorable. She's very determined. She's got to hurry up and get this. This is the page. I love this page.
I love this page too.
Yes, it crosses the gutter and her shadow is big. She's ready to go. She's dragging her chair down the hallway. How many times have you seen a kid drag a chair? You can see it in your mind's eye. She passes her older sister who's like, ugh, so boring. And on this page, right, and this page, the mom is watering a plant that mimics Mabel's hair, which I love that. And so she's having her favorite breakfast, which I love how the author sets it up, that she stops and pours herself a bowl of her favorite breakfast, dry cereal. And made her
absolutely. It's so specific.
Yeah.
It's so specific, and it's so kid-like, and it also makes her task much easier. She's not spilling milk the whole way, and that would distract from the story. So it worked on two levels. So then she's going out, and you can see the love of her family on the way, because her sister first is like, she's doing the most boring thing in the world. And the mother's like, she's doing the cutest thing. At least her mom says that. And then dad is opening it. You can see this guy. He's opening the door for her. He's spilling his coffee. And this is also crossing the gutter with this image. And it extends our focus to where is Mabel going right out the door. I remember when I illustrated, I don't know, my first picture book or set, whatever it was, and I figured out to make all the movement going over the page to lead into the page turn. But before that, I had done it the opposite way, and I was like, this feels like there's like a tag at the back of my neck bugging me, like there's something wrong with this facing the wrong way. And as soon as I drew it the opposite direction, I was like, no more tag. But it works to, like, you guys are seeing it opposite because the video, but then this is the page turn as he's pointing basically out the window. And the palette, I saw somewhere some review saying that it was an old-fashioned palette, or like it looked like another era. I didn't see that, but I love the palette. It's all sort of the same hues, the same tones, the same weight of the color. So the dad, every Monday, Mabel does the funniest thing. So she's not commenting. She's just on her way, doing her thing. She's got to go. I have something to do. And she drags her chair and her dry cereal in front of the garage, and she waits. And now we're like, what is she waiting for? And this love, yes, love that spread. Now we're so focused adorable on her. Yes, so adorable. And also just like, she's so focused on what she's waiting for. She's, and then she waits and she waits some more. And here the tension's building. And this is where it's like going to have this moment of reveal. And it says, on the bottom, onomatopoeia. And then honk, honk, it's here. The best thing in the world. It's finally here. And you got this. She's so excited. Her puffs are off the page. So, and her hands are grabbing her face. She's that excited. And yes, Kelly, it's a garbage truck. And so exciting because it's huge. And the engine roars and the hubcap shine and the lights flash and the brakes squeak. It's so fantastic. And it grabs the trash can and it's going up and up and up. And it grabs it. Oh my God, it's so exciting. And then it lifts its hair. And she's like at the Super Bowl with her. Get back. And then lift, we get dump. And it's making more onomatopoeias. Excuse me. And then even more, it continues. Shake, shake, shake. Gets all the garbage into the truck. And look, the big font, trash tumbles into the truck. This is unbelievable. Just the fact of this is like, it's garbage cut. That's good. The garbage gone. And for this little child, this is miraculous and exciting. And then this is such a great denouement. She sighs contentedly. She didn't miss it. What a sight. And we know this child is just fabulous. And then she sighs again. And everyone she knows, all her whole family's just wasting their time doing stuff inside, like watering plants and reading the paper. And she goes, and now we leave little Mabel, and I thought that this looked like a frowny face.
Yes, I have that note too. I was like, it's a sad trash can.
Yeah. And I didn't know why though. It should be happy. I don't know why.
Because the best part of the week is already over. It has to wait a whole other week for the trash can.
Right. Like imagine how fun it is for the trash can.
Right.
Up like that.
Roller coaster ride.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we're we're in a different place, in a different neighborhood. The garbage truck goes on to other neighborhoods. Get down. And look, we have other fans. She's not alone. It's a community totally into the whole experience. Mikey waits at the window. Monday is the best day. And then, according to Mikey, and then according to everyone, this whole community, all these different people are loving this moment of the week. And they have all these different people, and then many, many more. And I'm so happy I didn't see this before I read it, because I really was trying to figure out what the heck was going on in this book. But it's the way that he builds the tension through the art, and it gets closer to her. And then we have those two big pictures of her, like, we're watching her stare, waiting. It just slayed me, this book. It's fantastic. And she's just so cute. And then Emma sent us his was a post on Instagram or Facebook or something, and it's a little video of his own son with a little white lawn chair, a little white, one of those plastic chairs, sitting in it far away. You could tell Dad's like, oh God, I got to catch this. And he videos this, and it's far. And then the dump truck rolls up. I mean, not dump truck, the garbage truck rolls up and dumps the garbage in, and then it leaves. And then a couple of beats go by, and you can almost hear him going, out of the chair. He gets out of the chair and he walks away. And
he picks up the chair and he carries it with him. Clearly, I
thought he left the chair there.
Or maybe he leaves the chair, but it was that definitive, like, okay, it's done for another week.
Yeah.
That's his garbage chair. That's what I love. The chair is there.
The audience.
Going to stay there. But in it, Mabel does take her chair. But
she does.
His little boy, I think he leaves the chair, which I thought was a riot, because it means that it sits there all week waiting for him. Yeah. And he's looking at that chair going, it's only Thursday, damn it.
What day is it, Mom? What day is it, Dad?
What's interesting about this is Jashar Awan has a Substack, and he's got a couple of posts about how he made this book, and he finished his first draft in 2021, and at that time it was called Every Monday Melvin. And Mabel was a boy, and what I love about this is that he had the notion. Actually, I think it was his wife who suggested making the main character.
Why not a girl? Yeah.
Because trucks are so often gendered for boys,
right.
But really they're for everybody. And to me, what I love most about this book is that it's about the enthusiasm. It's about being a fan, right? Mm-hmm. It's about the enthusiasm of kids loving something so much. And, the adults, even the older kids, are jaded and could care less, right? But who doesn't know and who isn't touched by the sheer enthusiasm? And I remember my own
Joy.
son when he was a total truck fanatic, and we would go out and we would see a dump truck go by and he would point a little finger and he would go, ooh,
It is. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the hero worship. And what's interesting to me about this is that it's about, like Betsy Bird in her review of this book, she talks about this. She says, there have been plenty of picture books about garbage trucks, right? We can think of Ice Stink and there are plenty of them. But none from the point of view of a fan of the truck.
Right.
They're all about the truck, right? The truck is the main character. The truck is the protagonist.
Right.
This is where the kid is the fan, hero worshiping the truck, to the extent that you don't see a driver in this book. There is no driver of this truck. It's just the truck. It's not garbage men that are exciting. It's garbage trucks.
Right.
Did you see by any chance whether he did it in Procreate, it's an art app for iPad?
Because I know they just said digital.
I know.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
But I know that this award is given to the art, but I was totally charmed by the text. And in particular, and this may be because I love writing in parentheticals as well, but there's this little parenthetical that repeats like a refrain. Monday is the best day of the week, according to Mabel at least. And that is in parentheses. And then each family member she encounters has a parenthetical. Every Monday, Mabel does the most boring thing, according to Mira, at least. That's the older sister. Right. And then the mom says, every Monday, Mabel does the cutest thing, according to her mom, at least. And this refrain is just so charming and indicates that it shows a bit about the personalities of remember our presentation for the founders on secondary characters?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
How, they need to be more than just like sitting there. And so in this case, they may only have, like the dad especially, every Monday, Mabel does the funniest thing, according to her dad at least. And then, that he's like spilled his coffee and all of that. And you see him watching her, and they all have the things that they're doing, and it's very specific.
We're important to them to do
just
that.
Like the dry cereal just cracked me up because, like such a small thing, but that makes it so charming.
So Julie, you were talking about the characterization in the text, but what I loved is that the characterization came through in the illustrations. Like, so much about her family just from the illustration, right? Mom and dad and sister, they all live together. She has an older sister who's probably a teenager because she has all the posters on the walls and the lights and all of this. Mom is a green thumb of some sort because she's surrounded by plants. So it seems like she's very nurturing. And dad seems to be a sports fan because he's not only wearing a sports jersey, but on the wall behind him in his living room or whatever is a framed sports jersey. Yeah. So he is also a fan. So she comes by her fandom very naturally.
And he's reading the paper.
And he's reading the paper, right? Which is a very specific thing in this particular time, because who even gets the paper, like it's so unusual to even, so I loved that. And then one thing I wanted to point out, again, we have the use of hot pink. It shows up in Mabel's pants. It's definitely in the sister's room with her bubble gum and her hair and their posters. And then the mom is wearing like a caftan that has the pink to it. But as we go through the book, and we talked about this earlier a little bit, and how pink is a big color, but so is yellow.
Yes.
And if you look at this page turn where she is waiting and waiting, and we get, the honk honk, and then we see the garbage truck, and it's yellow. So any page that has the garbage truck on it has this yellow background, which to me was like, Yeah, I'm the star of the show.
Right.
It's the star, you know? And then the pink comes in and highlights different things that, you know, are super exciting for the truck. So like the trash cans moving, it's highlighted in pink, but it's on that yellow background. I mean, it's just...
This one
actually, Kelly, that leads nicely into the point that I was going to make, which is the use of shadow in the first half of the book. He really incorporates shadow brilliantly in the first part of the book. And we see Mabel's shadow, you know, behind her as she's making her way to her position, this huge shadow on the wall behind her. And we see the shadow of the garbage truck before the garbage truck actually shows up here, you know, behind. So the tension is the suspense. It's literally foreshadowing, right? The arrival of this big thing. And then it arrives and there is no more shadow. The spotlight is on full blast, right?
And then smiling garbage can on this
smiling garbage cans,
Also, and then but when she takes her eyes off the truck, it goes back to a regular street, it goes back to the green, it goes back to kind of the regular colors of the neighborhood. But then when we get to Mikey, it's back to yellow again. You know, the spotlight is back. And then even on this page where we see all of the different people in the neighborhood who are excited by the garbage truck, it has that yellow background. And real quick, I want to call out Katie, because a couple of years ago, Katie did a presentation on endings. And this story could have ended right here where she sighs and everyone missed it. It's the best thing in the world. This is an ending. You could have ended the book right here. But Jashar goes through and does what Katie called a PS ending, is what I would say, don't you think? And we see where the truck goes afterwards, and you're kind of like, but this is Mabel's story. Like, what happens next? And then you get that community that Katie was talking about. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Katie. So we'll put a link to that presentation in the show notes if you want to check it out, because I think there were like 7 or 8 different types of endings that it was a mind-blowing presentation that you did on actually, that. To see it in action was super cool.
You know, it's such a good point, Kelly, because Jashar Awan actually says in his Substack about this, he says that it took him a while to figure out how he was going to include Mabel's kindred spirits, meaning other kids who were also fans. But then he realized that fortunately garbage trucks don't only stop at one house. And so the solution presented itself.
That's amazing.
I wanted to point out, we've all held this up. This is the spread where Mabel is kind of small in the left corner, pulling the chair, but the shadow is gigantic, the shadow on the wall. And it's in front of her. And to me, and of course, it's walking off the page, right? But it takes up the whole page, her shadow. And to me, this just really showed the anticipation she has. Like, she cannot it's almost like the shadow is pulling her, like, come on, come on, come on.
It's getting ahead of her.
Exactly. Like, it just is... The way that he used the illustrations to create tension, you know, where she's walking forward. And like Katie, when I read this the first time, I didn't have any idea where it's going. And so the garbage truck reveal was, it's almost like I just wanted to cheer for so many reasons, because one of them was... It's a little girl who's obsessed with the garbage truck. And I loved that. And also, I confess, I think it's pretty cool to watch the garbage truck, the prongs, picking it up and tossing it over. I can see it, for me, I can see mine like right out the front window. And I always stop and watch it.
And look.
And, you know,
you can't turn away from it.
It's
like, I see it from my kitchen window. And when the garbage truck comes, I never like just turn away.
Yeah.
No, no,
No.
I didn't even know. I just
Well,
realized
and
that
then
when you said that.
and then if a neighbor puts something weird out there and you're just like, are they gonna take it? Are they gonna take it? Oh my gosh, they took it! You know,
Or if you put something out there, sometimes I try to I
right.
try to sneak extra
Yeah.
bags or whatever because I'm doing a purge and I'm always like, oh, are they gonna take it? Are they? But one thing I love about this is how well it demonstrates how a single, what seemingly could be a small moment can become a big story, right?
Yeah.
And that's because the child perspective here
Yeah.
is done so well.
So well.
Even if we think, oh, cool, the garbage truck's here, we're not like this, but kids are like this.
Yeah.
And it also does a great job of taking something that is very specific, this girl who loves and is obsessed with the garbage truck, but turns it into something universal. Like, I can't remember, Kelly, if it was you or Emma was talking about being a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Emma.
we all have things that we're obsessed with. Hello, Michigan Wolverines. Like things that you just jump out of your skin because you love them so much, or going to a concert.
Right,
I remember
yeah.
I went to a Prince concert in my early 30s and I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And you can feel that it just oozes off the page in this.
The other thing is that, to your point, is that it's every Monday Mabel sounds like, and maybe this is why I kept saying every day. It's like a regular thing for her. This is what a Monday has, and this is a very big deal for her. And she's a little kid. And when I remember when I did Little Chicken's Big Day, I love the fact that there is no big day. It's just this little 3-year-old, basically a chicken, but in my head, he was always a little 3-year-old going out to like shop with mom. And then they ride in the car, they go do this and that. Like it's nothing. He sees a butterfly, and that's it. And that's the big day. Just
Right.
being mom and doing stuff.
Because everything is new and everything is larger than life. And
And this is a huge day for a little kid going, it's garbage day. This is a big day. So I love that.
We talk so often about having an idea that is kid friendly and kid relatable. And of all of the books picked this year, I think this is the kid relatable.
Yeah, very nice.
You think about Julie and I were in a webinar yesterday with Daria Peoples, who said something that was just mind-blowing. And what she said is that we don't just write for children, we write as children. And that is how this book felt. It felt like a child, this could be Mabel telling the story, because
this is a good moment. I just want to share a quote from Betsy Bird's review of this book, which speaks exactly to that, Kelly. She says, when I tell you that I prefer picture books that respect kids to the ones that talk down to them, do you understand what I mean by that? And then she goes on to say, small people have undeveloped prefrontal cortexes, absolutely, but doggone it, they're people and they have distinct personalities and things they like and dislike. Yep. And some books seem unaware of this. They essentially talk to kids in the literary equivalent of a voice high on baby talk, right? But Every Monday Mabel actually shows a kid pursuing their passion even as their family members patronize their choices. Right. And that is just so kid friendly. That is just so kid respectful,
Yeah.
And she did. And that's the other part that I love about her. Like, she is completely confident that this is an astonishing thing. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. She's going for it. And she's taking her snacks and she's, sitting there with her feet while she waits, like she's at the football game.
Like it's popcorn,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh and she does, it is like it's popcorn. And also the way that she emulates. I love this one where
Yeah, it lifts into the air.
Yeah, when the truck is picking up the trash can, Mabel lifts her bowl of cereal in the air.
And the cereal is like flying out of like almost like
so
confetti.
amazing.
Just
Right.
also, I want to say, you know, being the lexicon queen here, I'm always the one who's like, lean into the lexicon, right? What I
Yeah.
love about what he's done here is, you know, what do we notice most about garbage trucks? It's all the noise, right?
Yes.
It's all
It
the
has a very
sounds.
specific sound, you know,
It's
when the
a
garbage truck
very
is coming
specific
up the street.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so when you're trying to realize a garbage truck in a picture book, which is designed for read aloud, right? What do you need to do? You need to find the onomatopoeia of
Yeah.
those sounds. And so it's not just the visual of it being lifted into the air, but it's, you know, lift, whee, you know.
Ka-tunk.
And it must have taken him so long to come up with those sounds to get them exactly right.
He probably sat and waited for the garbage truck every week with his notepad.
Right.
Yeah.
So in like in this page where the truck is setting the can down, the can crashes back down. The words are really big, telling us that it is really loud. And not only that, he emphasizes how big and loud it is because Mabel cheers is actually really tiny, even though that's a huge part of the story, right? So it's really, it's just
the contrast.
It's genius. It's genius.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to wrap this up because clearly we can talk about this book all day. But one thing I wanted that I found that was really interesting, it just sort of I don't know, a little thing, not little, but anyway, Lucy Ruth Cummings designed the cover, and she is also an illustrator, author, illustrator. Dalmartian always comes to mind with her, and some other great books. So I thought that was fascinating because the illustrator isn't usually the person who designs the cover, but it was interesting to me that another illustrator designed the cover because a lot of times book cover design is a different skill set than maybe illustration straight up. So anyway, I thought that was kind of.
It looks like she did the
layout,
the book design.
It says jacket design in the back.
in the front.
But on the copyright page it says book design.
Book design.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of that
probably that means she was the art director for the
right.
That's fascinating.
I except for my middle grade novel, I've always designed my covers, and I would have loved to have the graphic.
I think it's less about
It's not the illustration; it's the layout.
Right.
Yeah. No, I know.
Like saying that, for instance, one thing about this cover. And that repeats itself in the book is that there are four square. The window is split. What is the term for this? For these
panes, window panes,
right? And so, so you're seeing pieces, and even when I don't know if this could be one of the things that's design related, right? How it's splitting her right down the middle on the title page. Almost, and we see things through this window and through the windows a lot.
All right, so we are going to wrap up Our Lake and Every Monday Mabel. If you love yellow, you will love these books. If you love art and beauty, you will love these books. So we will have a link to the Picture Book Summit bookshop in the show notes so that you could check out these books on Bookshop. We suggest definitely getting them from your library or an independent bookseller near you and just enjoying the art and the text and the child friendliness of these books and these topics. And we'll be back with part 2 of our Caldecott conversation soon. So look for that in your email inbox or on YouTube. Talk to you soon.